boys and girls, it's me, MrCreepyPasta. October is here, and I wanted to say thanks to all of you guys who have stuck with me over the years. And I mean that seriously from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all so much, because without you guys, I wouldn't have a channel. And that mushy stuff aside, I have a lot planned out for this October, and I mean a lot. So much so that I haven't really slept in the past 3 weeks. So much so that I have to push my wedding back. So much so that Channel Zero actually sent me an exclusive clip to their show that I'm not supposed to show to anyone. But here it is. So much so that I finally broke Billy in half and buried him in the backyard where no one will ever find. So much so that I have celebrity guests, live-action skits, and crazy amounts of stories. I mean, more than I've ever had on this channel in October before. Because this year, kids, is all about going back to what made this channel great. Over the past few years, I haven't just had monsters and murderers. I've had jokes and shifting focus just from sharing stories to helping authors, promoting books. And I'm super proud of all of you for stepping up and helping these authors and writers out with your support as well. But finally, after 5 years, we're getting back to those monsters of old. So enjoy, everyone. And take lesson from tonight's story from T.W. Grimm. The Tale of the Square Peg.
Once upon a time, there was a square little peg named... Let's call him Holden Caulfield. Holden wasn't square in a boring way. He was actually cool as hell, but was literally shaped with strange and exotic 90-degree corners, unlike all the other pegs we knew. They were uniformly round and smooth. Holden always found himself left out from most of the round peg's goings-on. He simply didn't fit into the round peg way of things. The round pegs thought Holden was weird. And Holden wasn't weird. Really, he was just different. But it was all the same to the roundies. They regarded their strange, angular counterpart with contempt and derision. They didn't understand him, and so they grew to hate him. Fuck that kid, they'd say. He can't roll very fast, and he can't fit into a cribbage board. What good is he? Holden grew up a lonely and confused little peg. He didn't understand why it was so important to exist in such tight little loops anyway. What was the purpose of such a silly state of affairs? The roundies didn't understand Holden, and Holden didn't understand them either. Why was it so good for everyone to be the same, to be uniform and bland and circular? Why was it bad to be square? Why did everyone have to fit neatly into round, safe little pockets? And most importantly, why did they all hate him so much? Their universal loathing made Holden wonder if he maybe actually deserved it. That he'd been born wrong, bad, stupid, and worthless. It was a miserable existence, but it was all that he'd ever known, and so he simply assumed it was to be normal and correct. Holden thought that life was supposed to be like that because the roundies told him so, and why would they lie? Holden grew to adulthood and realized very quickly that he had no choice but to somehow become more hula hoop-esque in his dimensions, or he would never prosper. No one wanted to hire a square peg. Where could a square peg fit? Certainly not in a cribbage board. Could he roll? No. Why not? Holden tried his very best to be round. He was bad at it, but he was willing to work harder than anyone, and so the roundies sometimes grudgingly gave him employment. They were shitty jobs that only the most cretinous or desperate of round pegs would ever even consider taking. Although Holden always tried his goddamnedest to fit in and perform the menial, poorly paying circle tasks set out before him, it never worked out in the end. Holden would always find himself back out in the cold. A despicable square in a world of all things circular, hated and shunned by all. He grew desperate, hungry, cold, and totally bereft of hope. Holden committed a series of petty crimes to survive. He was arrested by the roundy cops and sentenced by a stone-eyed judge to serve time in prison. Now all hope of somehow fitting into the round way of life was truly gone. He'd never get hired now, not with a record. Holden grew tired and bitter and hard of heart while in prison. He vowed to stop trying to fit into places he couldn't. What the fuck was the point? He was eventually released and withdrew from Circle Society entirely. Holden chose to dwell instead at the desolate outer curve of the horrible round world, disavowing all contact with the cruel and heartless roundies. To hell with them, he thought, and to hell with me too. Holden drank away his weekly government pittance and slept in a gutter. He went so long without speaking out loud that he eventually forgot how and lived as a wretched ghost in a land of misery and solitude, drifting in the shadows, mute, lost, forgotten. Then one morning a voice above him said, "Hey man, are you okay?" And Holden opened his eyes to see a triangular peg standing over him with a concerned look on his face. Holden thought very, very hard, but he couldn't remember what it means when someone looks at you like that. No one had ever looked at him like that, never in his life. He moistened his cracked lips, and after a great effort he whispered, "No, I'm not okay. I don't belong. They don't want me. I think I want to die." The triangle peg told him, "I don't want you to feel that way. I don't want anyone to feel that way, but especially not you, because you don't deserve that. Come on, man. Leave this all behind. Let's get out of here." The triangle took Holden to the smooth, featureless curve of the world's edge and pried it up with the tip of his head. He led Holden beyond the edge and showed him that there was more to be had in life. Ever so much purpose to fulfill, a multitude of pegs who, even though they fit into different places from each other, all consider themselves to be equal, because in the end, were they not all pegs? Holden lived comfortably and happily ever after, and he never saw another round peg for the rest of his long and prosperous life. Roundies weren't welcome in this otherwise caring and accepting world, because round pegs are a bunch of dickheads, and who the hell needs that sort of shit in their lives? Not Holden, not me, and not you either. Fuck 'em. The end. Hey there kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I've worked with a lot of talent over the years. Many of the authors have books of their own, which I highly encourage all of you to check out to see more of their tales of the strange and horrific. And for those looking for a sampler of some of my absolute favorites, I've worked with these authors to compile just that. Stories that have been made famous throughout the internet, stories on this channel, and some that are brand new. The CreepyPasta collection is a long time coming, with support from all authors involved. Check it out on Amazon and in your local bookstores September 2nd. Or, I suppose you could save yourself the nightmares.